meeting of the Tzu Chi International Medical Association in the Philippines celebrate its 15th anniversary. We take a look why BOT projects are affecting Kinmen's natural and historical resources. Welcome to DA Headlines. I'm Helen Liao. Thank you for joining us. First up in China, September 9th marked the first anniversary of the Tzu Chi Suzhou Health Promotion Center. To thank the Tzu Chi volunteers that have offered assistance wherever needed, medical staff present the volunteers with handkerchiefs with the word gratitude on them as a token of their appreciation.
Holding a needle instead of the usual scalpel is a challenge for most of these medical personnel. Some have never sewn before, while others suffer from poor eyesight. But nevertheless, everyone still puts in their best effort.
I'm getting better and better now.
Luckily, my mother taught me when I was little. Otherwise, I wouldn't know how to do this.
To celebrate the first anniversary of the Tzu Chi Suzhou Health Promotion Center, medical staff presents each volunteer with a hand-sewn handkerchief with the words gratitude embroidered on it as a token of their appreciation.
We've stumbled on this path, but fortunately, with you volunteers by our side supporting us with your love and devotion, this is a huge encouragement for us.
Reflecting on the past year, part of the success of the free medical clinics can be attributed to the dedication and assistance of Tzu Chi volunteers.
We see a true reflection of the Master's Dharma in our brothers and sisters. They show care and concern, even for people that they don't know.
Not only does the Health Promotion Center take care of the body and mind of local residents, it is also a spiritual ground to cultivate wisdom. To thank the volunteers for their guidance and example, medical staff also prepared a meal, hoping this appreciation can find its way into each volunteer's heart.
The Philippine Tzu Chi International Medical Association, or TIMA, is celebrating its 15th anniversary. Since its establishment in the country, TIMA has become a venue for compassionate medical personnel to exercise their skills while helping those in need. In our next report, we visit the Great Love Physical Rehabilitation in Jaipur for Prosthesis Manufacturing Center, where 600 amputees receive free prosthesis assistance over the past 15 years.
This is Rico, a regular staff member of Tzu Chi Great Love Physical Rehabilitation and Jaipur Foot Prosthesis Manufacturing Center. Now he is able to walk with firm steps. However, he was actually a former Tzu Chi Care recipient whose legs were amputated in 2004.
When he came to me, his toes and skin were black. His legs couldn't feel anything.
My feet turned black. I used a razor to shave the black tissue off, and my toes dropped off in the end. After the second amputation surgery, I didn't quit smoking either.
Due to excessive smoking, Rico suffered arteriosclerotic vascular disease and required amputation surgery. Unable to make ends meet, it was his 13-year-old daughter who worked part-time jobs to support the family.
10 years ago, my father's disease deteriorated. When he underwent surgery, I already was working in Manila.
Following the amputation, Zambonga Tzu Chi volunteer Yang Wei-shun made a suggestion to help Rico and his family get through the difficult times.
I asked him if he wants to learn how to make artificial limbs, since it would be inconvenient for him to work in a factory or drive vehicles to make a living. Tzu Chi is a charity organization, so we can't pay him much. Is it okay? I asked him. He said it is okay, as long as he can make some money.
When I help patients customize their artificial limbs, I feel for them, especially those who travel from miles away. I help these patients first because I know it costs them a lot to come here. They even have to borrow travel money to make this trip possible.
From recipient to giver, Rico has resumed his role as breadwinner, so his daughter no longer needs to work out of town.
First, I would like to thank God for helping my father return to a normal life. Now we can live together.
Situated in the southern Philippines, Zamboanga is a bay city with historic Hispanic architecture and a marvelous sea view. However, it is also a city shadowed by complicated political and social conflicts, leaving countless residents living in poverty. Currently, 1/3 of the population in the Philippines lives under $1 a day. An artificial leg from the knee down costs $2,360, which is an amount simply unaffordable for Sophia. Therefore, her mother took her to Tsuji's free prosthesis service for help.
I hope my little girl can walk one day.
Sophia was born prematurely, resulting in congenital deformities of her limbs. Thanks to Rico's craftsmanship, this little girl is now able to walk her first step.
Wow, Pak, saya si Sophia. Bila dia aku prema saya.
Now I'm very happy, very excited. Thank you, Tsuji, for helping us impoverished families. You have helped countless people like us. Thank you so much.
Most impoverished amputees, to conquer their immobility, make a prosthesis on their own. Now with Tsuji's customized service, they no longer need their old devices. Yang Wei-shun, however, preserves these old artificial limbs in order to remind himself of his mission and commitment.
Keeping these old artificial legs is not only for other people, but also for us. What we do is important to the disabled. Sometimes when you get tired or get discouraged, you just come in here and you can regain your initial determination and move on with stronger commitment.
Thanks to Yang's strong commitment, 10 years after Tsuji's prosthesis center opened its doors to the public, over 600 residents have been helped. In the days ahead, more and more disabled will be able to recover their former productive lives. In our next report on the 15th anniversary of TIMA, we will take you to see how TIMA volunteers have organized and carried out Tsuji's free clinics.
In 2003, to help needy residents living along the Angke River, the Tingkaran Dai village was established in Indonesia. Inside the village, Tsuji has thoughtfully built a free clinic, which was upgraded and renamed as the Indonesia Tsuji Hospital in 2006. Meanwhile, Tsuji schools were also launched to make sure children in the village receive proper education, thus breaking the cycle of poverty and helping them strive for a more promising future. In 2003, Tingkaran Dai village was established in Indonesia, and to safeguard the health of its 1,100 households, a free clinic center was opened in the community.
Awalnya pendirian daripada poliklinik ini.
Tsuji's free clinic center is a part of the Tingkaran Dai village. The main purpose of the center is to look after the health of local residents and those around the neighborhood.
Peran rumah sakit itu menyebabkan.
The purpose of the free clinic center is to educate local residents that they have to go see a doctor if they are feeling sick. The free clinic also provides treatments for those outside of the community. In a way, it is helping local residents to interact with those outside of the community.
In 2006, the Tsuji Free Clinic Center, after receiving proper recognition from the local health bureau, was officially renamed as the Indonesia Tsuji Hospital. To provide better service to patients, starting from 2008, the hospital started to provide 24-hour care and inpatient care.
Sekarang ini ya, dari awal di sini poliklinik.
The Indonesia Tsuji Hospital started off as a free clinic center. We are very concerned about the health of local residents. If we compare to before, our service has improved nearly 40%.
The Indonesia Tsuji Hospital covers a total of 50,000 square meters of space, and inside the hospital, one can see volunteers in uniforms accompanying patients. These volunteers have become one of the defining features of the hospital.
Karena pembelajaran di sini
We accompany patients in a hospital and often see life and death. I learned that life is full of impermanence and that we should seize every chance to contribute our share and help the less fortunate.
Other than Indonesia Tsuji hospitals, schools were also built inside the Tingkarandai village to give children a chance to receive proper education.
At first, many children would wear flip-flops to school, while some came in barefoot. Many children didn't shower, wash their hair, and so on. They didn't have good personal hygiene.
When our students have bad habits, we will politely remind them to change. If my students are Muslim, I will take them to pray at a mosque and learn together. We can't teach them by ordering them to do something. We need to be their role model and pass on these humanistic values.
At the Tsuji schools in Tingkarandai village, children that used to live along the Anki River have not only learned valuable knowledge and skills, but also morals and proper etiquette.
Tsuji's humanistic teachings have slowly changed my behavior and conduct. During the morals class, I learned how to behave better. Now I know that I should be filial towards my parents. These lessons have also improved my interpersonal skills.
Now living in a community that is equipped with a hospital and schools, these residents can finally break away from the cycle of poverty and strive for a more promising future.
These children that used to live along the Anki River have changed completely. Now they look different, and more importantly, their manner and bearing have improved greatly. I believe they will have no problem fulfilling their dreams and find a brighter future.
The 4-day simulation course, which we reported on yesterday, successfully concluded at the beginning of this week in Hualien, Taiwan. A memorial survey was held to commemorate the selfless dedication of the 8 silent mentors who gave their bodies to medical science.
Here at the memorial service, medical students along with family members respectfully placed the ashes of the 8 silent mentors inside urns. Among the interns, students from China have found Tsuji's humanitarian spirit most inspirational.
The students not only got to attend the simulation course, but the focus of these classes was also to learn from family members. The family gets to put their hope on these students as well. I think such an exchange is quite precious.
As family members bid farewell to their loved ones, they also speak of their hopes and well wishes for these medical students.
Doctors need to be wise, loving, patient, able to empathize with patients, and grateful. The patients and their families will feel your good intentions.
Through a sign language song, these medical students express their gratitude to the 8 silent mentors who continue to give selflessly in death by donating their bodies to medical science.
In our continuing reports on Taiwan's offshore island, today we go to Kinmen, which was primarily a military outpost prior to 1992. The government recently passed 11 Build, Operate, Transfer project, also known as BOT, which is a model used for private and public sectors to work in partnership to build shopping centers for holiday resorts. However, experts and environmentalists also suggest such development may only weaken the island's natural and historical resources.
Come autumn in Taiwan's Kinmen, environmental groups and enthusiasts arrive for a tour around the island.
If you don't come visit soon, there will be many things you won't be able to see anymore.
Yang Zhenfeng, who served his military duties on the island, initiated the visits to Kinmen, as he knows the island is undergoing major development and the roads he was once familiar with are no longer the same.
When I was in the military, we had to plant beefwood trees. The Defense Department would give us 10,000 of these trees, and if one of them died, the commander and its staff would all be punished.
In fact, development on the island began after military activities ended in 1992. In the early days, beefwood trees were planted to block the strong winds that buffet the island, but nowadays they have been replaced with Madagascar almond trees. The key to the change was the Little Three links, which led to a boost in the tourism industry.
Though Kinmen has the highest road density in Southeast Asia, the government still built an access road that connects to Masan Observatory Station. The second one is for the duty-free center to the airport, and the third road is for another shopping center.
Kinmen is only 153 square kilometers in size, which is 2/3 of Taipei. Yet there are currently 11 BOT projects planned, with most of them being shopping centers and holiday resorts. 3 are under construction already.
The Council for Economic Planning and Development estimates that by 2016, we will have an overall increase of 1.91 million tourists.
According to statistics, the number of tourists traveling through the Little Three links is on a steady decline. In 2011, the number of tourists stood at 1,474,000. However, last year, that number decreased by 12,000. And this year, from January to June, there were only 648,000 tourists, which is 80,000 less than the year before.
We speculate that it was because of the additional direct flights that became available, which led to a reduced number of tourists. This should only be temporary.
With Xiamen less than 10 kilometers away and sky-high buildings indicating its economic growth, the Kinmen government plans to turn the island into a mini version of Xiamen. Nonetheless, no one has ever questioned what attracts tourists to Kinmen in the first place.
I came from Taipei and I wanted to check out the battlefields and historical sites.
The Juguang Tower and the War Tunnel we visited yesterday, I feel that these places tells us a lot about our culture.
What is questionable is whether these developments planned to boost Kinmen's tourism industry will really bring positive changes to the island or just bring more damage to its original beauty instead.
Residents in Taiwan's low-lying coastal cities are long used to flooding when torrential rains happen. But instead of trying to control flooding, why not try to adapt your home or surroundings to help the situation? One solution is to build houses on stilts. Another is to place water basins to catch flood runoff at the right moment. With these innovative solutions, residents living in low-lying areas can avoid future floodings in their homes.
This is Mr. Lin's house in Yunlin County's Taishi Township. Because it sits on low-lying terrain, he's very experienced in flood prevention. Thus, the fridge sits on a steel platform 60 centimeters above the floor.
It would be difficult for my mother to move the fridge before the flood arrives. So I thought to raise it higher. When she needs to get to it, she will just stand on that footstool to reach it.
Inside the house, items that can be raised has been moved. But what about people? When tropical storm Kongray hit, 86-year-old grandmother Lin says the water level was at knee height in her home, and with 2 stacked footstools for support, she sat on her bed for days to wait out the flooding.
I sat like this. I didn't dare put my foot down because I was going to get wet. I couldn't go to the bathroom either. Thankfully, I eat very little. I spent 3 days like that.
Grandma Lin has lived here for 64 years. Although moving seems to be a good solution, but where can she move to?
I don't have anywhere to move to. Where am I supposed to go? Living here for so long, I feel attached to this place. All I can hope is that maybe the house can be lifted to higher ground. This way I won't have to worry about flooding.
Grandma Lin is hoping the government can do something to help her situation. Near Yunlin County's Taishi Township, there is an environmental education center where houses are built on stilts and the foundation is 1 meter above the ground.
Building the houses on the stilts can prevent financial and property loss if flooding occurs.
The space underneath is left as a detention basin to help catch water when torrential rain pours in. It's an adaptable method to weather changes. Department Chairman Zhang Zijian of Transworld University's Department of Tourism and Ecotourism says the pond by the university's entrance serves as a detention basin if flooding occurs at the school. The Ecology Center on campus has also been built 1 meter off the ground, the space underneath serving as a detention basin. Zhang says the government's current way to prevent flooding is to establish detention ponds in mid to downstream areas of a river. However, as waters have already reached the end of the line, the basins are next to useless. The best way to use these ponds is to set up a number of them in the flat-lying areas at the base of the mountain to catch the waters rushing down. Zhang also mentions if the university's sports field were lowered 3 to 4 meters, it could also serve as a dry basin if the nearby river overflows.
This is a large field. If we dug it deeper, when the flood waters arrive, the water would travel to the sports field first. This field can hold up to 100 to 200,000 tons of water, which gives us 1 to 2 hours of retention time.
This can lessen the burden on storm drains, and houses in areas likely to suffer from flooding could also be built similar to those floating homes in Holland. Whether it is a still house or a floating one, the most difficult part isn't to come up with a solution, but to change people's desire to beat nature. Finding ways to accept nature is the best way to live in harmony with one another.
As Mid-Autumn Festival is just around the corner, China Tzu volunteer brought mooncakes for their care recipients in Xiamen, China. Meanwhile, Hunan Province Changsha Tzu volunteers brought the festive atmosphere to a local nursing home.
Tzu volunteers' regular visits have become much anticipated by the seniors as they finally have someone to talk to. This 92-year-old grandmother has to look after her incapacitated son.
This is how my life has been. I've been taking care of my son for 20-30 years now. He's been bedridden since his 20s and now he's almost 60. But I feel a bit more relieved now.
Tzu volunteers listen and give comfort as the senior speaks of her sorrows. Come time for volunteers to leave, the senior is reluctant to say goodbye. Next, volunteers pay a visit to Miss Cho, whose 14-year-old son was left with the mental capabilities of a 7-year-old after an accident. This little boy's innocence is loved by all the volunteers. As he learns to sign along with the volunteers, his mother also hopes that one day he may learn to take care of himself. Meanwhile, here at a nursing home in Changsha, grandmas happily move along to the music with the volunteers. Volunteers also go room to room to help immobile seniors trim their nails, bringing warmth and love that is here to stay.
We stay in China at the end of the show, where East China Tzu volunteer held a blessing ceremony at the Suzhou Tzu grounds to pray for peace and harmony. The volunteers also reminded participants that to have a world free of disasters, everyone needs to safeguard our Mother Earth. We'll leave you with these images. Thank you for watching Dai Headlines. Goodbye.